Hello. So I have previously posted on my channel yoga for sciatica, which often runs through the hip. But today it's particularly about tight hips. So if you suffer from quite bad pain in the hips, that they're very tight, you find just that day to day yoga aside that they ache and you have problems with them, maybe recovering or recuperating from treatment, then this is a very gentle class aimed at helping you with the hips and the mobility within the hips. So this isn't about necessarily stretching the hips, it's strengthening around the hip socket and the muscles there to help strengthen that area so that you can move more safely. So what I want you first to do is get yourself a cushion. I've got a yoga bolster, but anything's going to do that raises your seat. So I want you to sit on something that means that you're not on the floor. So if you look at the difference of me sitting on the floor, straight away I am not supported in the hips. I'm working quite hard to sit up tall and to keep my lower back long and straight by pulling the tummy in. Now that's absolutely fine, but if this compromises you and just causes you additional pain, then what you need to do is pop yourself up a bit higher. So when I come on, I'll just show you sideways, I'm more supported as I sit, and you might notice my knees have become a lot lower than my hips, and ideally we want the knees to be level with the hips or lower than the hips when we're seated, so we don't want them too far up and around. So find a comfortable seat. That being said, whatever works for you, whatever's comfortable for you. So this is about making life more accessible for you in the hips. So sit cross-legged, and as you sit the other way. So turn the feet, bring the other foot in front. Now if sitting cross-legged is absolutely a no-no for you, then bring the feet apart. So you can just sit with the feet apart. Okay, we're just going to start with some simple circles. Now because we've lifted and raised ourselves, the hands aren't going to come easily to the ground without the back grounding. So you can bring the hands onto your support or onto your legs, and you're just going to simply start to circle gently. So as you circle, you can think that you're kind of going around the axis of the spine, around the pelvis, so that we're just stirring around that area. And if the movement I'm making is too big for you, then just make it smaller. So it can be really little, just as we start to introduce a bit of movement into the hips. So just a couple of times in one direction. And all these moves I'm showing you can be done for longer, you can repeat them, but these are just moves just to work with. So perhaps the first time, just go through the video, but if you find that something's working for you, then you can revisit. So I've just turned direction, gone the other way. And you can, if you're comfortable, make it bigger, but really do what you feel okay with, and that includes with the knees. Good. And then come off and just sit for a moment and just let the body absorb how it feels. Come to the breath and just take a few longer breaths, breathing in and out through the nose if you can. Just being aware of what feels what where, and just accepting that at this time. Just using the breath to try and melt away a little bit of tension. When we're tense, we're not relaxed, and that's going to make the muscles tighter. We want to try and relax as much as possible so that we can let the asanas and movements we're going to do work more effectively. So just a few deeper breaths, breathing in and out through the nose, just being aware of the breath moving through the body. And then open up the eyes. Okay, we're going to come off our support. Have it handy just in case we might need it in a moment. And come onto your back. So lower down nice and carefully on to your back. And let's bring the shoulders down the back and then draw one knee in towards you. So just let the weight of the hands pull against the knee. So don't pull any further than just the weight of the hands. And we're just very slowly going to move the knee out to the left and back into the centre. So out to the left, back into the centre. Now as you do this, I want you to try and keep your other hip, your right hip, down. So don't let it lift up and pull away with you like I just demonstrated. Keep it down. And just bringing the leg back and forth, back into the centre. So inhaling to come out, exhaling to come in. Or if it feels better to do it the other way around, then do that as well. Exhale to come out, inhale to come in. Just move with the breath. Good. And then let's just hug that knee in for another moment. And then bring the foot back to the floor. So bring the foot back to the floor. And you might already feel a bit lighter in this side just by doing a few simple movements. So right knee pulls into the chest. And again, we're not drawing it by force. We're just letting the weight of the hands pull on that knee and just gently moving out to the side and back to the centre. Just a few times like that. Now, if those movements feel absolutely okay for you and you feel you can move on to more, you can take it into a half happy baby. So the knee comes out to the side, then we flex the foot and reach for the inside of the foot. Now this is a lot stronger. It may be that you can't reach for the foot, so that way you can hold on to the back of the knee or the ankle. But if this is a no-no for you, just wait till the hips ready, the legs are ready to come into this movement. So we're just going to hold it in a half happy baby here for a couple of breaths. But it might be that you're not ready for this, and that's absolutely okay. So 2 more breaths. And a last breath. And then release gently, don't let it ping back the leg and come onto the other side. So right knee comes in, right leg comes out to the side, and you might just be here. Okay, so that's absolutely okay. You might be able to reach for the ankle or for the inner thigh. And again, we want inner foot, and we want this left hip to be nice and heavy. So just take a few breaths here, and it's about relaxing to allow you to come into that movement. Okay, 1 more breath. And then gently release the leg back. So hug the knees into the chest and just rock from side to side a couple of times. So just rocking from side to side. And then when you're ready, we're going to roll onto our left-hand side and come up. So come up nice and easily, taking your time onto your hands and knees. So from the hands and knees, I just want you to take the left leg out to the side. So left foot comes out to the side, and then we're going to just lift up. So just lifting up, so we can feel the stretch there in that leg. So just feeling the stretch there in that leg. And just come nice and tall. So standing, well, we're not standing, kneeling nice and tall. And then when you're ready, we're going to bring the hand down to the floor and lift up here into this kind of side plank. Okay. So if you need to adjust yourself a little bit, you can do that. And just reach through. So we're feeling a nice stretch along the side of the leg. Now, if you're feeling okay from here, the next step is to lift the leg. So we're just going to lift the leg and pulse the leg up and down. And if it's here that you're pulsing from, again, that's okay. We're strengthening around the hip. So if you can lift up higher, then that's great too. Keep the foot flexed. I brought my hand down to my hip because it's not really the arm we're concentrating on, but if you want the arm to lift, then that's great. So a couple more times in this direction. Ooh, and then release. Let's come back onto the knee and we'll come straight to the other side. So I'm going to turn so I'm away from you. So I'm going to let the right leg come out and the left foot come behind me and lift up. So you can come just back to your hands and knees and extend the right leg. So just lift nice and tall. And then when you're ready, we're going to bring the hand down to the floor. Okay, hand up, so adjust yourself so that you can come into this half plank and just lift and stretch a little bit through that hip. Okay. And then from here, we're going to bring the hand onto the hip. And if you can, we're going to lift the foot. So you might find that pulsing here is where you're at, or you might be able to lift up higher. But remember, wherever you are is the place that you need to be right now. Keep that wrist underneath the shoulder just for safety as well. So just a few pulses here, a few more. Good. And then release down to the ground and take it back to your hands and knees. If you're able to from here, we're going to stretch back into child's pose. So stretch back into child's pose, bring a cushion under the head for a moment and release. It might mean for you that you need to widen the knees and keep the big toes together so that you can stretch back a bit more comfortably. And sometimes when you're not used to this movement, you might find that the bottom stays quite lifted. And that way you can slide something underneath the bottom to rest on. Similarly, you can let something be under the head. So just a few breaths there. One last breath. And then coming up. So coming back up onto the hands and knees. And from this hands and knees position, you're going to step the left foot forward and lift up into a lunge. So actually, let's keep the hands to the ground to start with. So often when you'll see lunges, you'll see people sink forward and just stretch really deeply through the side of the hip. So we're stretching that would be stretching the right hand side. And that's okay. You know, that's absolutely okay to do. It gives you a good stretch. But I want to show you how you can lunge more safely using strength rather than flexibility. So we're going to bring the hands onto the legs. So this is what I don't want you to do today. And you can do it, that's fine, but I want to teach you about this, the strength. I was going to turn around, but I think I'll stay at this angle. So from this position, I want you to lift up so you're in a more square right angle position with the legs. And we're going to lift the arms up towards the ceiling. And from here, I want you to pull the tummy in and lift the pubic bone up. So the action is lifting the pubic bone up towards the navel. So instead of the pelvis rocking forward, the pelvis is more neutral. Can you see that? So from here, we're coming to here. So from here to here. So we're lifting up, lengthening up, and then with the legs, I want you to imagine that they're like scissors, and you're pulling the that scissor action. So instead of we're pulling back the left leg and pulling the right leg forward, whilst maintaining this lift in the front of the body. And then with this activation, you can then start to safely move forward with strength, and you won't go as far here. So breathe here. Take a few breaths. And then release down to the floor. Let's swap that over. So right leg steps forward and come up. So come up. So from here, we want to avoid this full stretch to the front of the hip, which has its place. It has its place. But for today, what we want to do is instead of stretching forwards, we want to lift, scoop the tummy in. So have the action of scooping the tummy in, pulling the navel into spine, lifting pubic bone up to navel, and then lifting the arms. And then we want the pelvis to be as strong as possible. So the right hip pulls back, the left hip pulls forwards. It's like a scissor motion so that the hips are in line with one another. So the hips are in line. We're grounded and firm here. We're lifting up the pubic bone. We're pulling the tummy in. So we're firm this way as well. And we can lift up. So you should really feel it quite strongly. And then you can start to come forwards a little bit if you want to, with safety. You don't even have to have the hands up. You can have them there. So take a few breaths. This just increases the stretch a little bit. So have them here if needed. And another 2 breaths. And then release the hands to the floor. Okay, from here we're going to lift the leg and step forwards if you can. Come up however you can and just roll up to standing. So roll up, roll the shoulders. Now I'm just going to grab a block. So if you don't have a block, I want you to use safely something to stand on. So this is probably the size of 2 books. You get 2 books that aren't going to slide, so you want to make sure you're safe before you come up. Bring the books to the floor. So you can just simply grab 2 books and pile them, but you don't want them to slip. So just be careful. And then we're going to bring the weight onto the block. So I've got my left foot on the block. Okay, so you can see I'm having to rest quite heavily into this hip, and this is often how we find we stand. So you can see I'm a bit skew with here. So I'm going to press the foot into the block so I can see if I can level out the hips a little bit. So from here, I'm pressing down to see if I can level. Then I'm going to bring all my weight onto that block. So I'm on the toes, I'm staying nice and level, it's all looking good. But then I want to lift the foot off the floor. So lifting the foot off the floor, and I'm hoping you feel quite an activation in the standing leg. So this outer hip, this glute medius, which really supports you and the work that you do, you want to have that nice and activated. So just lifting there and holding that balance. And it's absolutely fine if you need to hold on to something. This isn't a balance class, but just keep it light so you're just balancing rather than weight bearing into the hands. So hold it there and then drop down. So just release for a moment, let that relax. It's quite hard. And then we'll go again. So press the foot down, come onto the toes, and then squeeze the tummy in and lift so that you feel that activation there. Try and ground down through the whole of the foot rather than coming onto the outer edge. And then come down again. One more time, breathing in, lifting. And then release. Let's do the other side. So foot down, right foot down. I'm on carpet, so it's a bit wobbly, so please do be careful. And then bring the weight onto it. So I'm on the toes, and I'm going to lift the foot as if I'm standing level and feel that activation here. Okay, if you need to balance in any way, holding on or hands away from them. Okay, so keep working that and then release. So if it's painful to hover for too long, then make it shorter, make this work for you. Okay, stick with the breath. And release. One more time, breathing. Squeeze the tummy in. Feel that strengthening in that glute medius. And release. So release and drop down and come to standing. And just notice how that feels. Okay, so last little movement. We are just going to balance on one leg on the floor. So again, please just hold on to something if you need to. So no block now, but the weight comes into the right foot. So it's the same sort of action. As we lift the left leg, press down into the standing foot so that the hips are more level. And again, you'll feel that action in the glute medius. So hold it there, and then maybe straighten and bend the leg a couple of times. Staying with the breath. Good. And then release. Other side. So ground down, press through all four corners of that standing foot so that the foot is solidly planted on the ground. And then lift the leg. Now, keep working that foot so that we can lift up and out of it to activate that. So if I've stopped working, you can see my hips poked out of it. I need to press down into the standing foot to activate and to keep the hips level. So just a guide is just to look at a mirror or hands on the hip bones so you can just feel what's happening. Maybe a few bends and straightens. You don't have to do this if it's not right for you today. And release. Bring the foot back down to the ground. Okay, just shake it out for a moment. Okay. And just to finish off with, again, hand can be to hold something. We're going to lift this leg and just take a few little circles here. Now, if it's too much standing, please come onto your hands and knees and just take a few circles here. So just a few circles on the hands and knees or standing. A couple of times in both directions. Keep breathing. And then you can swap over. So other side like that, or from standing. We're just moving here. Just take it easy. A couple of times in each direction. And go the other way. Good. Okay. And release. So from here, what I'd like you to do ideally is come to rest. So what's really nice is to just support yourself in a resting position. So what you can do is arrange a couple of yoga mats rolled up, a couple of pillows rolled up, anything you can, so that you can lie back on some support. So I'm just going to use this bolster, and I just want you to make some space so that the lower back stays unsupported, although if you've got lower back problems or if it hurts at all, you can bring something onto the lower back. And then you're just going to bring the soles of the feet together and allow the hips to gently open. Now, this can be quite strong like this. So if it's too much on the hips, what you can do is bring some support under the knees to help support the legs. So you can bring a stack of blankets underneath, just so it gives you some support, so that they're not just kind of hanging on the thread, if you like, but they're nicely supported. So anything under the knees is going to assist in that. Now, if you're not keen on the bolster or the rolled up blanket, then you don't have to use it. You can just simply lie on the floor. So here we are, I've just popped that underneath me. So that is really supporting me here. So you can just decide how that feels, what you need. And we're just going to stay here. So I would encourage you to stay here for as long as you can, 5 minutes or so. Just breathing in and out of the nose. Inhaling and exhaling. Just ridding yourself of any tension, anything that doesn't serve you now. If it becomes too much, you can bring the feet wide and the knees together. And just allow yourself to be supported here. So I encourage you to stay and rest for as long as you can. And I hope that this video has helped you. If you have any questions, please comment. Namaste.